My dear young children, ladies and gentlemen, thank you Indian Express, thank you Dr. Vaidya. Acquisition of knowledge versus impregnation of knowledge. That's the choice in deciding whether you evolve experts or you evolve the average. It's very interesting. In fact, it gave us an opportunity to explore how illegal education has progressed and how the legal frontiers of education have progressed. Take the input-output mismatch. Legal education in India was pre-British, pre-independence period, was confined to the affluent families who could go to London and do law. Then take the Supreme Court from 1950 to 2016. The vintage classic judgments, you will find it in the first 25 to 30 years. You will find the best legal luminaries arguing the best constitutional points. So, they have never had formal education the way we wanted, in the prototype way we had aspired for it. They got educated. They took to practice, they interacted with judges of eminence, and they could get the best in the form of judgments, laying down the path for the nation. This has been the roadmap of practicing law. Let's understand the roadmap of academic institutions. We never had full-time colleges, we never had full-time teachers. Whenever you normally say, why are you a lawyer? Why are you a lawyer? We could not afford a seat anywhere else. No college asked us to come, and therefore we are invited here, and therefore we are a lawyer by default. This was the foundation of legal education in India. And in 60 years, we now have reached a stage of competitive education. Like engineering and law, students aspire to join law institutions. It's happening in the last 5-10 years. Standardization has come. So there is a mismatch in the input-output ratio. You had eminent jurists, you had great judges, you had great judgments. Even today, after traveling enough, I'm saying this, even today, we have wonderful judges in the country and still have wonderful lawyers. But considering the academic progression and perfection which we have been trying to achieve in the last 60 years, is the output matching with the input? The answer certainly is no, because there is fallen standards. Why? And what can be done? Any professional excellence, any professional education, let's understand, especially children are here, you must understand, it comes by nurturing. It comes by learning the craft through the rote. You don't learn it through books. You need not necessarily learn it out through an institution. So, let's take two examples. The magnet and the needle. As long as the magnet is within the radius, it attracts the needle. But it cannot make the needle a magnet. A magnet shall ever remain a magnet, and a needle shall ever remain a needle. This is the disability any institution which is institutionalized has it. Irrespective of the area of progress, irrespective of the area of academic pursuit, this is the basic limitation. That's why our script, I've been listening for the past one and a half hours about ancient and modern. Our Gurukula, all these excelled eminent jurists and eminent judges have undergone not institutionalized Gurukula Vasakam, but a personal Gurukula Vasakam under their seniors. Why? Our scriptures say there is something called a philosopher's stone, Sparsamani. What can it do? It's gold, and when it touches a metal, it is capable of converting it to gold. That's the difference between magnet and a needle. A needle can never become a magnet. however much you may put an effort, unless otherwise there is a transmission of its through a, whereas in a philosopher's stone, you just by intake, by glance, by pursuit, by contact, by action, by infusion, you can make one more philosopher's stone out of it. Now, how do we now do that in an institution? You can't say, therefore, all of you go to some Gurukulam. It's not possible. You need degrees, you need academic qualifications, you need certificates, you need graduations, you need to have some sort of. So, how do we do it? See, today, the difference between 30 years and now, when we were the first batch of 5-year integrated law in 1983 to 1988, now 35 years have passed. Now, the difference in the education is this, in legal education. What connects a university and a student? Let's take that very clearly. What connects the university and the student? Curriculum? Conference? Seminars? Guest lectures? Moot courts? And in some universities, exchange programs. But what is required to produce experts out of these institutions? The curriculum, the conference, seminar, is all done in controlled conditions. They modulate your behavioral patterns. They infuse you some sort of an idea of how to progress in the profession. But they don't allow you to emulate an experience of expertise. I want to say these 3 E's. Emulation, experience, result is the expertise. Now, how do we do these 3? Is it possible in an institutionalized manner? I feel it is possible. Dr. Chandra was speaking yesterday on, he used an expression, I was told, phygital. It's not digital, not technology. He used a nice expression, phygital. What do you mean by phygital? Find out the physical infrastructure and match it with technology. Bundle both together and deliver it. It is going to have an impact. Can we do that in legal education to produce experts? Let me tell you how. What is the physical infrastructure available to you? An institution. We have now very good institutions in the country, as much as we have some bad institutions too. Let's not worry about it. See, in public domain, it's always better to talk in a positive manner. And with young children here, we should give them hopes. So there are good institutions available today in the country for legal education. Be certain about it. So that's the starting point. Now 2, you have eminent retired judges and eminent judges serving the judiciary today. Eminent. You have the resource. You have eminent jurists, 80 plus, still 6, 7, 8 people are still there. If you ask, they would have traveled 3 generations, 4 generations of legal pursuit. You still have such experts. And below them, you have still very good, a platform of senior counsels across the country who have gained expertise in their various fields and professions of practice. Then you have good people, public intellectuals available to contribute to you on the social aspects. Can't we not videograph their experience? It's difficult to bring them to each university and make them speak. It's not possible. So why don't we standardize and capture their best of experience and their best practices, what they feel out of the experience is good, to add value into your professional career. Then make it available. Make it available for universities, children to read and to listen, watch and experience. This is one area which this is possible. You have the infrastructure, you have to match it with digital mode and then bring it to the campus of a university. It's not going to be very difficult. They will do it lovingly. They are waiting for such things, people to reach to them, to do that. This is one area you can possibly think to produce expertise. Now the second area is we should cut down. It's no use teaching them 35 subjects. Let them choose a few subjects. They understand how to read law. 30 years back, we had one moot competition in South and one moot competition in North. Today, we have hundreds happening week after week, at least 10 competitions happening across the country. So, They know how to read a law, including certain basic constitutional provisions. These children are trained. So, don't dump them with too much of syllabus. Let them spend 50% on academics and 50% on experience. Instead of just going for a 1-month intern, can they spend 3 to 4 months in courts after the third year, third, fourth, and fifth year? Second suggestion. Now, the third suggestion is, can we convert our examination systems to these professional colleges into an open book system, so that you don't have to really be worried about mugging up or trying to memorize when you have better. Ultimately, it's enhancement of skill. Ultimately, that is where we must work for, not produce more people with academic marks. So can you cut down the size of the subjects and just give 50% for this and 50% for practicals? Third suggestion. And the fourth suggestion, in fact, 6 months back when I was talking with the National Judicial Academy for judges, this is what when we have enough colleges across the country, let these children be aligned with the respective courts. Work on the basic file and they can really contribute in reducing dependency, and in the process they will learn by experience. These are all practical things. If you work 10 files in a year, who motivates you? How does it motivate you? Ultimately, what motivates you is when you do a case. My last 2 minutes. We ultimately dish out 4 sets of people from and out of a law institution. Most of them join the corporates because it is attractive and there is a immediate social recognition. Therefore, there is a flair for corporate employment. When I say corporate, government, going for employment in general. The second space is for litigators who aspire to be in litigation. The third space is for people who study and do research. And the fourth one is for very few, but rare, but happens, social activists. If you do become social activists after pursuing law. Now, at least for the 3, litigators and people interested interns in research and social activists, a legal education should fundamentally give them fundamentals. In the case of a litigator, creative thinking and advocacy. In the case of students interested in research, analytical thinking and global reach. In the case of a social activist, it's very, very fundamental and important that they must understand history, the value system, and social awareness. Their social awareness is just 15 years old, most of them, where you require centuries of knowledge before you can become a social activist. So, these 3 is something which if an institution can give, you can produce experts not only as litigators. You produce good research scholars out of India. Please understand, it's a hope I'm giving to each one of you. Our judgments of the Supreme Court on various laws which has cross-border impact and analysis is our judgments of the High Court and Supreme Court is constantly discussed in international fora. This is a standard of judgments which is continuing to produce with good judges and with good counsels and with good cases coming up to courts. So all this is happening in India and it's opening up. We are having a lot of cross-border, and now you see group exchange studies are happening and people want us. So there is a need from and out of India across the world. There is a lot of hope. We should produce experts. And finally, one request to a lot of students here being here, I request you, if you want to be a good lawyer, you should be passionate about 3 things. It's a must. Only then you can grow yourself as a wholesome lawyer. You must love your country. Passion to the country is paramount. 2, passion to our culture. And 3, we must integrate and invest our time in knowing our constitution more than anything else. These 3 C's, in court language, there are 3 other C's. You should never even hear it in your life. But we should substitute those 3 C's with these 3 C's. Country, culture, and constitution. Thank you so much.